Conviction upheld. New tonight, a Jamaican woman who stabbed her girlfriend loses her appeal. We'll tell you why justices upheld the ruling. And a man is dead tonight after he crashed into a utility pole on Abaco. What investigators say led to his death by collision. But first,
coming up tonight in our news, the Prime Minister breaking his silence on the controversy surrounding Immigration Minister Keith Bell. Meanwhile, the F&M and the COI is hitting out at the government's response. I'm Bertha McDermott. I'll have those details for you tonight in our news.
Then in our news at 7:30, why the opposition is calling the foreign minister's clarion call for MPs not to address the ongoing immigration saga horrible advice. Our news live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to our news live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. Prime Minister Philip Davis breaking his silence on the saga involving the immigration minister. Davis admitting today confidence needs to be restored in the immigration process, adding that he too is concerned. Berthany McDermott, who picks up the story from here, tells us two opposition groups are still criticizing government's response.
Amid the firestorm surrounding Immigration Minister Keith Bell, Prime Minister Philip Davis is breaking his silence on the matter. Davis says he's reviewing a recent statement from the Ministry of Immigration.
I too am concerned about the trust that apparent that the Bahamian people should have in our immigration process. We have to restore that confidence. We're looking at what has been said to see how we could strengthen our processes.
Now that explanation not sitting well with Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard. He believes the Prime Minister is taking too long to address the issue.
He should answer because right now, reputational damage is being done to the country.
The Ministry of Immigration and Labor released this statement seeking to clarify the matter. It reveals that Bell was in Miami and not Switzerland when he spoke to a dying man who asked him to swear his family in as citizens. The statement also says the Chinese nationals who were apprehended at the British Colonial Hotel and subsequently released following a call from Bell were in the country legally, adding the employers were in the process of applying for their work permits. It's a complete contradiction to this report from Immigration Director Couture Ferguson, which states the department had no idea who the remaining individuals were or how they got into the country. Meanwhile, Coalition of Independents League and Bain isn't buying it.
For the government to say something opposite to that, it is clear that someone is lying. I don't think that the officer in charge, the honorable officer, would be lying. And so this is very concerning to us.
Last week, Bell said he would address this matter in Parliament today, but that didn't happen, and the statement was issued instead. Meanwhile, Pintard doesn't think the statement came from the ministry at all.
It is shameful that the Prime Minister has not caused to happen, and the Minister has not taken the responsibility to come to the House of Assembly to address this matter. This statement could not have come from a public servant. This came from the political directorate using the ministry as cover.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks a lot, Berthany. We'll have more on that coming up in Our News at 7:30. Well, the Court of Appeal has upheld the murder conviction and sentence of a Jamaican woman who fatally stabbed her girlfriend. Nadisha Beckford is serving a 42-year sentence for the February 2021 murder of Lakeisha Mackey outside the Showboy Bar on West Bay Street. The Court of Appeal rejected arguments that the trial judge erred by admitting an audio recording of a conversation between Beckford and a friend after the stabbing into evidence. Now, Beckford's lawyer, Dorsey McPhee, argued admission of that recording in which his client is heard saying, quote, "I'm a vampire, I cut her throat and drink her blood," was more prejudicial than probative. Despite the arguments, appellate judges pointed out the audio recording provided some support of Beckford's self-defense claim, as she could be heard saying Mackey tried to hurt her. The full story is available now at ournews.bs. And now to Abaco, where police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the country's latest traffic accident that claimed the life of a 22-year-old man yesterday. Police tell us it was after 7 p.m. when the victim was driving east on Forest Drive in Murphytown and lost control of his black 2013 Honda Civic and crashed into a utility pole. Due to extensive damage of the vehicle, the victim was extracted utilizing the jaws of life. He was taken to the medical center in Marsh Harbor, where police say he died. Investigations are ongoing. Now, in light of recent news that the number of sexually transmitted infections are rising on Grand Bahama, a trainer and motivational speaker, Deborah Pratt, she's weighing in. Pratt, who trains a number of young people on a regular basis at the National Training Agency, says she was surprised by the statistics. And while no demographics for the results were given, she's encouraging parents to have that conversation with their children about safe sex.
Of course, we know, first of all, if they're not married, they should abstain. However, for those, we know there are persons who are pressured, and we want to encourage them to definitely take the proper precautions in protecting themselves,
Health officials reported this week that STI infections increased in Grand Bahama this year over numbers from last year. Pratt says we must be responsible and have standards.
In spite of what may be going on around you, in spite of what your friends may be doing, you set a standard for yourself and you try and uphold that standard. And the best way to uphold that standard may be to have an accountability partner, someone that you can trust, someone that you can share your deep feelings with. If it's something that you feel like you may be persuaded to do, or something that you may be thinking about doing, just have an accountability partner, someone that you can talk to, someone that you can trust to help you to uphold the standards that you may set for yourself.
All right, we've got much more to get to tonight, including our work in progress segment that's back. But for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Ganino, and a happy Wednesday evening, everybody. A very cloudy day around the islands. We had a lot of showers and thunderstorms overnight. That's courtesy of an upper level low and a surface trough that's been approaching us. We'll show you that in our satellite picture right a little later. 84 degrees outside our studios right now, and that's under some intermittent clouds. We're starting to cloud a little, but we expect some more clouds later on this evening. East winds at 10 miles per hour. Feels like temperature, well, a little comfortable. They are in the upper 80s at 89 degrees. Temperatures around the islands right now, it's a very cool 82 in Freeport, 84 in Marsh Harbor, Abaco. Allenstown, Bimini, 85, 82 in Great Harbor Key. Nicholasstown, Andros, you guys are 84 with some nearby thunderstorms. Governor's Harbor, 83, showers and thunderstorms in the vicinity. Kemps Bay, you also got some showers and thunderstorms in the vicinity at 85. Arthurstown, 85, as well as Coburn Towns in Salvador. 86 in Georgetown, Deadman's Key, 85. And into the southeast Bahamas, lots of 85s and 86s there. Duncantown, Ragged Island, Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Delectable Bay, all 85s. Abrams Bay and Matthewtown in Agua, as well as our neighbors southeast Turks and Caicos Islands, you guys are 86 at this hour. Satellite and radar composite, a lot of mass across our area, a lot of moisture associated with that upper level low that's been spinning just to the southwest of Cuba. That's still exiting the area, but it's pumping some more moisture across our area. We're also watching and approaching upper level low as well to the east of the Bahamas, as well as the surface trough. That will keep us a little unsettled. That tropical wave to the south, it's still south, but that's going to lend some showers to the southeast Bahamas as well as all this mess continues to move towards the west. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us to look at your extended forecast. Is still to come.
Still to come on our news, a quest for parliamentary independence as a bill to bring autonomy now on the House floor. Plus, amendments to the notary's bill passed in the Senate, how it's expected to benefit lawyers. But first, a check on work in progress when our news returns. The Ministry of Works and Utilities has been hard at work on improvements across the country, but tonight we learn how Works employees have been giving back in a very different way, lending their talents to an interactive summer camp here in the capital. Jamila Mizik has more in tonight's Work in Progress segment.
Engineers play an important part in creating many things we get to enjoy. And for the past 2 weeks, some engineers employed at the Ministry of Works have been taking the time to engage with youngsters interested in future careers in the industry. We spoke to geotechnical and civil engineer at the Ministry of Works, Albrion Simonet Jr., one of the instructors at the Bahamas Engineering and Technology Advancement Camp. He says the beta camp has been around for the past 10 years with a goal to expose Bahamian youth to opportunities in STEM careers, whether it be science, technology, engineering, or math.
Over the years, we've had a lot of engineers from the profession actually give their time back to assist the development of the young persons coming up and to stimulate interest in engineering careers. With myself working at the Ministry of Works, it's important that we actually reach out and give the future engineers a hand up and give them some assistance and guidance and let them see what is possible in the industry.
And the efforts have not been in vain. As Simonet says, some of the camp's past participants have now found careers in the industry.
The beautiful thing is persons who have started out in beta camp have actually went on to pursue careers in engineering, to go to college, get civil engineering degrees. As a matter of fact, a mentee of mine has actually now made it full circle and is looking to enter the workforce in the Bahamas in the short term.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
All right, thanks, Jamila. Well, the Parliamentary Services Bill, which is expected to make way for an independent parliament, now on the House floor. The issue of its autonomy has been talked about for decades, and more recently during the Minnis administration when former House Speaker Halson Moultrie brought up the issue, but its autonomy was never brought into fruition. Prime Minister Philip Davis says the bill will strengthen the operations of Parliament.
We are not alone in this effort. Throughout the region, the Commonwealth, many other nations are considering or have taken similar steps toward expanding the independence of their parliament. In fact, we have gone to great lengths to ensure that the bill before us today represents the strongest aspects of regional laws to create an autonomous and modern parliament.
The opposition throwing its support behind the bill, with Central Grand Bahama Member of Parliament Iram Lewis suggesting it's a step in the right direction.
It is time that the legislative branch be given the freedom and the tool it needs to carry out its constitutional mandate. These institutions, mainly the House and the Senate, are at the center of our government, but also at the center of our capital. As simple as ensuring its upkeep from, as we can see, rodents and dilapidation. Sometimes you go into the restroom and you can't even use it. There's so much more that can be done to this institution to inform the public about what we do as a government.
The Notary's Public Amendment Bill 2023 was read for a second time and passed in the Senate this week. Attorney General Ryan Pinder noting the bill's importance in rectifying a deficiency in the framework that governs notaries public. The bill addresses two issues: waivers and exemptions for licensees and provisions of a grace period between the expiry and renewal of notary license.
To honor the feedback of licensees and in light of the unfairness of the current practice, the proposed new Section 6B of the bill seeks to provide that a licensee who is also a counsel and attorney in the employee of government, a counsel and attorney in the employ of a duly registered not-for-profit, or a member of Parliament shall be exempt from paying fees for the time that that licensee holds those respective offices. The proposed new Section 6B will also permit a licensee who is not practicing as a notary to pause his license by surrendering it to the minister. Thereafter, that licensee will no longer accrue arrears for the years he did not practice as a notary.
News comes back from the break. We turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as an infected blood scandal in the United Kingdom heats up. Survivors and affected families seeking clarity on promised pay. Plus, water woes in Montserrat add to major power concerns. And a Bahamian registered tanker attacked by Iran. The details when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Survivors and affected families of the United Kingdom's infected blood scandal are seeking clarity on the payment date promised by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Just under 3,000 patients died after contracting HIV or hepatitis C from a transfusion of tainted blood in the 1970s and 1980s. Sunak said he was committed to compensating the thousands of people affected, but did not say when they could expect to be paid.
I would like not to be here because I would like it to have come to a conclusion by now. I was infected over 40 years ago, and I think we've had enough now.
I'm just hoping the Prime Minister is going to acknowledge obviously what's going on and just move things along a lot quicker, because every day sort of like people are dying. And we're just worried that if we go on for another 6 months that half the people that are here won't be here.
An Air Force intelligence officer says the United States is concealing a long-standing program that retrieves and reverse engineers unidentified flying objects. Retired Major David Grush's highly anticipated testimony before a House Oversight Subcommittee this week was Congress's latest foray, that is, into the world of unidentified aerial phenomena, which is the official term the U.S. government is using instead of UFOs. Asked whether the U.S. had information about extraterrestrial life, Grush said it has likely been aware of non-human activity since the 1930s. Grush made numerous other claims, which the Pentagon has denied. The U.S. Department of Education launching a civil rights investigation into Harvard University's policy on legal or legacy admissions, claiming that students with legacy ties are up to 7 times more likely to be admitted and can make up nearly a third of a class. Preferential treatment of children of alumni has faced mounting scrutiny since the Supreme Court struck down the use of affirmative action. A Harvard spokesperson said the university has been reviewing its admissions policies to ensure compliance with the law since the ruling. Irish singer and activist Sinead O'Connor has died at the age of 56. She was best known for her #1 hit single, Nothing Compares to You, which was released in 1990. In 1992, she tore a picture of Pope John Paul II on Saturday Night Live as a protest against the Catholic Church. This led to protests against her, which saw copies of her records destroyed in New York's Times Square. And now to the region, as the ongoing power situation in Montserrat is now affecting the island's water supply. Officials say there was a quick change in the load shedding schedule Monday night as a generator failed at the water pumping station. Temporary replacement generators are expected to be put in place. However, Deputy Premier Samuel Johnson says it will take a few days to get water levels back to full capacity.
So what has happened is that MOL has now sent off for the past, trying to get them desperately into the island as quickly as possible to get the repairs up, because we understand and they understand the situation that they had. In some of the past, they had people stationed in Miami to bring them down by hand to try to get them here as quickly as possible to resolve the situation.
And finally, St. Martin's Court of Guardianship is set to implement a child safety code. The code, which is being drafted with technical support of UNICEF, will serve as a guideline for professionals to ensure the rapid detection of possible child abuse and provide support to children and their families. It also makes way for streamlined reporting of suspected child abuse. Well, a Bahamian registered oil tanker found itself the target of an attack by an Iranian Navy ship earlier this month. The international incident prompting an investigation that has since caused Iran to lose its bid to host a maritime event this coming October. Our Joshua Williams, who is following this, spoke with the Bahamian IMO ambassador.
The MV Richmond Voyager tanker, one of many registered in the Bahamas, in a dangerous situation this month when an Iranian naval ship allegedly attempted to board the vessel. Radar images and video obtained by our partners at Reuters show what appears to be shots fired from the Iranian ship. His Excellency Paul Roll, who is the permanent representative and ambassador to the International Maritime Organization, says the ship was on its way to Florida.
An Iranian Navy vessel that had attempted to stop one of the tankers that was en route to the United States, Bahamian registered, Bahamian flag vessel. And in the process, they had discharged several shots into the crew quarters and caused damage, but nobody was injured.
Ambassador Roll says the incident, which happened on July 5th, is one of several involving trade ships.
Well, in the last couple of years, I think there were 20 or thereabout such incidents where vessels are supposed to be doing, peaceful transit. And that has been an issue, and it's an issue that the IMO has been dealing with.
Roll, who was a former commissioner of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, was appointed ambassador in 2022. He's the first Bahamian to hold the post and has already been involved in many international discussions.
Any matters pertaining to international shipping will come to me to be addressed.
As for the incident with Iran, the country has offered a bid to host a maritime event in its capital, Tehran, later this year, but that's since been rejected.
The United States had raised a proposal, which we debated intensely, I must say, and we were successful in what it was that we wanted to achieve and had Iran removed.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
Still to come in Our News, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was July 26th. Then in Our News at 7:30, bad advice. The FNM and COI say PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell's clarion call for MPs to remain silent on Keith Bell's immigration troubles, not a good idea. Plus, Bahamians traveling to the U.S. East Coast this summer told to beware. A southwest heat wave is moving east as temperatures reach triple digits. When Our News returns. Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was July 26th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1926, Hurricane San Liborio made landfall on New Providence as a destructive Category 4 storm, claiming the lives of over 100 people. It was one of the most severe storms to ever affect New Providence at the time. Then in 1964, the cornerstone of the Young Women's Christian Association building on Dolphin Drive in New Providence was laid by Lady Gray, wife of then-Governor Ralph Gray. And 5 years later, in 1969, then Prime Minister Lyndon Pindling delivered his bend or break speech in Freeport, Grand Bahama, at the opening of Bahamas Oil Refinery Company. His speech sought to address inequalities post-Grand Bahama Port Authority's development of the city of Freeport. At the time, he said the city was experiencing discrimination in housing and employment, as well as a lack of social and economic advancement for Bahamians. Fast forward to 2018. There were 27 confirmed cases of conch poisoning, with 22 other suspected cases awaiting laboratory confirmation. Then Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands said at the time, officials would clamp down on conch vendors who did not have fresh running water in their businesses.
We have seen increasing numbers of resistant Vibrio parahemolyticus that are not sensitive to the usual antibiotics. What that means is that those patients are harder to treat and their syndromes are more prolonged and more severe.
Then in 2019, following a bitter battle for national chairman of the PLP the night before, Fred Mitchell was re-elected to the post, defeating challenger and his then former cabinet colleague Obie Wilchcombe. Chester Cooper was also re-elected deputy leader. He took to the convention stage, touting a new vision for the party.
I've committed to presenting a progressive agenda, not just sound bites, not just campaign slogans, but our plan will be smart. Our plan will be specific. Our plan will be measurable. Our plan will be attainable.
And finally, in 2022, the local Haitian community criticized boat captains who days before engaged in an illegal human smuggling operation.
Then they will stop. And I pray that they have compassion and they see those lives that have been lost. 17 people. We don't know if there is any more, but 17 people that you have to have in your conscience, that you know that boat could not hold all of these people.
All right, well, today is World Mangrove Day, and the Bahamas National Trust has a series of initiatives for mangrove education and restoration planned to recognize the day. Senior Communications Officer for BNT, Elijah Sands, says it's one of the last remaining mangrove systems of its size in New Providence. Bonefish Pond National Park is a great example of how mangrove restoration can work.
Bonefish Pond itself has been the site of over a decade-long restoration effort. When you were walking in, you've seen a lot of small mangroves that we just planted over the years because this was a dump. People used to dump here, so there's a lot of need for restoration. So mangroves play a crucial role in the Bahamas for our economy, socially, culturally, recreationally. You cannot overstate how important mangroves are.
And officials from the Ministry of Tourism giving the public a heads up about road closures on Bay Street in preparation for Gumbe Festival this coming Friday. Consultant for the Ministry of Tourism, Randy Roll, tells us barricades will begin going up on Thursday night.
From about Thursday evening at about 9 p.m., we're going to start to put barricades just where there are normally parking spots between Charlotte Street and Parliament Street. The actual road, which is Rawson Square direct, will be closed on Friday morning from about 10 a.m. And so there'll still be both lanes of traffic that people will be able to travel to, but only until you get to Parliament Street. Just until the end of the festival. So on Saturday morning, we expect everything to be open and back to normal.
And Roll assuring the public the free event is going to be safe, family-friendly, with police presence. General Manager for Cultural and Authentic Events in the Ministry of Tourism, Nikki Simmons, tells us what the public can expect.
The Ministry of Tourism is excited about bringing Gombe back to Bay. I think the last one was more than 10 years ago. And so the first installment is Friday, July 28th. We begin at 5 p.m. and it ends at midnight. And Bahamians and tourists alike will have the opportunity to come out and experience true Bahamian tradition. The best in food, in music, entertainment. You're going to see limbo dancers, storytelling done by the educulture team. There's going to be a fabulous kids corner. Lots of fun for family.
All right, and we will certainly keep you up to date on those road closures. You can visit ournews.bs to find all the latest on that, as well as all of today's top stories. That's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia, are we going to go to Gombe? I know we talked about it. I know you said you were a big fan.
Yes, I'm going to go and see what it's like here. I've only experienced it in Grand Bahamas, so for sure. All right, we'll make it a date.
Yeah.
All right, Ken. While the FNM and COI say PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell's call for MPs to remain silent on Keith Bell's immigration troubles, not a good idea. Plus, Bahamians traveling to the U.S. East Coast this summer told to beware. Here are your latest headlines.
Concerning comments first tonight on our news live at 7:30, while local activist says recent pronouncements by chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party are concerning. Also, do you know what to do if you happen to come in contact with a migrant? While a 3-day training workshop is underway in the capital. Plus, airing it out, members of the Bahamas Public Services Union gathering on Bay over years of issues still unaddressed. And later, we deserve an apology. Why the chief counselor for West Grand Bahama is upset with the island's hospital administrator when our news live at 7:30 returns.
Doctors Hospital is reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. The Free National Movement, along with the Coalition of Independents, are lashing out at PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell, who advised Immigration Minister Keith Bell to remain silent on the controversy surrounding allegations within his ministry. FNM leader Michael Pintard says it's not good advice, adding Mitchell should not serve as party chairman and public service and foreign affairs minister.
It is unfortunate that he has a minister with responsibility for the public service, as well as a chairman of his party who's prepared to operate in secrecy about facts that the public are entitled to know. And so when the Prime Minister talks now about transparency and accountability, it is laughable. Right now, he is unsuitable to function in that capacity, giving that kind of advice. It is horrible advice.
In a recent voice memo, Mitchell said he told Bell not to respond because it would not be beneficial to do so. Meanwhile, Coalition of Independents leader Lincoln Bain says Mitchell's comments were concerning.
They're acting like a criminal organization, like this mafia. Like, everyone keep your mouth closed, no one say anything, when there should be a government of transparency, which everyone would respect. And everyone would respect if mistakes are made, if you come forward and say, listen, we made some mistakes, we're going to remedy this and get it ready.
All right, Prime Minister Philip Davis says government will undertake a comprehensive review of how immigration decisions are made to strengthen checks and balances. Davis announced a review in a statement today saying the move is to ensure ensure every Bahamian has confidence the rules promote efficiency, fairness, and accountability to the greatest extent possible. He says he understands many of the questions raised by the opposition in Parliament were based on wrong and inaccurate information, and says those questions will be addressed in a statement from the Department of Immigration. The statement adds just because a system has always operated in a particular way, it doesn't mean it can't be strengthened or improved. Migration management, the primary focus of a 3-day training workshop this week, facilitated by the International Organization for Migration. Participants will engage in the essentials of migration training while learning best practices and common knowledge on migration management. IOM Deputy Program Manager Melanie Gomez explains.
Basic terminology, how to address the different issues such as return and reintegration, combating trafficking and smuggling of migrants, also what are the different stages of the migration cycle, understanding what are the drivers, what makes people want to migrate as well. So all of these different elements in the migration management.
Attending today's training were immigration officers, attorneys from the AG's office, social workers, police officers, and foreign service workers. She speaks about the relevancy of the training at this time.
Migration is always something that will need to be addressed from the governments and the different institutions, and as mentioned in the opening remarks, this is not the responsibility of one government or one institution, so this is the importance of coming together from different angles and addressing the different issues of migration, and always keeping in mind the rights of migrants and how we need to protect their rights and how migrants contribute to the communities and the societies of the different countries.
All right, well, the trial of a police constable accused of raping a Norwegian tourist while on duty in 2018 has been adjourned until next year. Stephen O'Curry is accused of sexually assaulting the 25-year-old woman following a traffic stop on January 14th. His trial was scheduled to begin this week. However, the case has been adjourned to January 27, 2024. Owner of the luxury Albany Resort and part-time Bahamian resident Joseph Lewis has been charged in the United States with multiple counts of securities fraud and conspiracy for allegedly orchestrating a brazen insider trading scheme. Megan Shepard has the details.
British billionaire Joseph Lewis, who is a part-time resident of the Bahamas and owner of the luxury Albany Resort, was charged by the U.S. Justice Department alongside his personal pilots, Patrick O'Connor and Brian Marty Waugh, for orchestrating what the U.S. calls a brazen insider trading scheme.
We allege that for years, Joe Lewis abused his access to corporate boardrooms and repeatedly provided inside information to his romantic partners, his personal assistants, his private pilots, and his friends.
U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said this enabled them to reap millions of dollars of profit. Prosecutors charged Lewis with multiple counts of securities fraud and conspiracy for alleged crimes spanning from 2013 to 2021.
Those folks then traded on that inside information and made millions of dollars in the stock market, because thanks to Lewis, those bets were a sure thing. Now, none of this was necessary. Joe Lewis is a wealthy man, but as we allege, he used inside information as a way to compensate his employees or to shower gifts on his friends and lovers. That's classic corporate corruption. It's cheating, and it's against the law. Laws that apply to everyone, no matter who you are. That's why Joe Lewis has been indicted and will face justice here in the Southern District of New York.
In a statement, Lewis's lawyer called the U.S. government's charges an egregious error in judgment, adding that, quote, Mr. Lewis has come to the U.S. voluntarily to answer these ill-conceived charges, and we will defend him vigorously in court, end quote. Lewis is the founder of the investment firm Tavistock Group, and according to Forbes magazine, is worth $6.1 billion. Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
All right, thanks for that, Megan. Well, localized flooding in the capital following heavy showers this afternoon, but hopefully the rain cools down those hot temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with a first look at weather. Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Natalia, and a happy Wednesday evening, everybody. Partly cloudy skies outside our studios right now. Temperature in the mid-80s, 84 degrees, much relief from the last couple of days. Your winds out of the east at 10 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature, comfortable 89 degrees on the outside. Satellite and radar composite, showers and thunderstorms associated with an upper level low as well as a surface trough and another approaching upper level low in the open Atlantic. First low is going to be moving towards the west. That will drag some more moisture across us. That surface trough will keep us a little unsettled. So we're looking for some more showers and thunderstorms in the forecast tonight through tomorrow. That's your first check on weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, airing it out, protesters take their plight outside Parliament, claiming their concerns are being overlooked. Also demanding an apology. The West Grand Bahama chief counselor says the hospital administrator owes residents an apology. We'll tell you why. And beating the heat. If you're traveling to the United States, find out how you can protect yourself from scorching hot temperatures this summer when our news returns.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Lars the 12th, your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
Another protest downtown, this time members of the Bahamas Public Services Union over issues they say have not been solved. In some cases, for years now, the group took to Bay to air their grievances as the House of Assembly was in session. Our Joshua Williams reports.
A continued cry from the Bahamas Public Services Union for some time now. Union members gathering in Rawson Square to voice their concerns over a laundry list of issues. Bahamas Public Services Union President Kimsley Ferguson.
We're here to agitate for the promotion of social workers as well as the dental department. Scarcity allowance, because the complement of staff at social services and in the dental department is on an all-time low. We need persons to be replaced, but more so the people that are carrying the brunt of the load needs to be properly compensated for their labor. And so we need those allowances, responsibilities, scarcity, the risk allowance. We need those things to be addressed.
Jason Roll, who works in the Department of Social Services, says those who feels it knows it.
I've been in social service 10 years and I ain't got my letter yet. Social service job ain't no easy job. People is becoming fighting you. They becoming robbing you. They becoming casing at you. You understand? The minister don't get case at. The prime minister don't get case at.
Members from the dental unit in the Ministry of Health also airing their grievances, saying for far too long they have also been neglected.
We do not get any hazard pay. We do not get any insurance. We work with broken equipment, chairs that don't work everything, but we are working.
In a statement, Public Services State Minister Pia Glover Rolls says 136 promotions and miscellaneous matters were processed, while 37 are outstanding. Social Services and Urban Development Minister Obi Wilshcombe asked workers to trust the process.
I believe the trade union leaders have met with and have spoken with the minister. I believe that they have stated how we're going to proceed, but as quickly as possible, because you want people to have happiness.
Now the protesters say they're willing to do anything, no matter the cost, to have their demands met. Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, thanks for that, Josh. Well, residents in the Western District of Grand Bahama are upset about comments recently made by Grand Bahama's hospital administrator, who said officials are trying to determine whether ambulance services are needed in that community. While tonight, the chief counselor for the district is calling her comments disappointing.
Do we need an ambulance? Of course. Do we need a fire truck? Of course. These are all essentials that any growing community or district would need.
That's Chief Counselor for the Western District, George Jimmy Smith, calling for an apology from Grand Bahama's hospital administrator. Following her comments, health officials are contemplating whether an ambulance is required in the West Grand Bahama District. This as residents in that community have been asking for proper emergency care services for years.
And when you look at all of the logistics of the Western District, we're the largest settlement, the largest community in the entire Bahamas. You have a hotel that's vibrant. This is the season for boaters. We have an airport. Could you imagine?
And as to why he thinks the administrator made those statements?
Before I would have made a statement like that, even though I was told, I would have did my own study, call a community meeting, bring the community together, come down and talk to the pastors, come down and talk to the police. Persons in the 8 Mile Rock area, before they call an ambulance service, sometimes they'll jump in a private car and try to make their way to the emergency room. And then when you get there, that's another wait.
He's now calling on the Prime Minister and Minister of Health and Wellness to step in.
It's not to downplay or to say that they're not doing the best that they can do or what they're supposed to do. But we want it to be known that's the level that we needed to go at this point. We need to take it to the top.
Shout out to the health minister on this. He told us that he would be looking into the situation. The Public Hospitals Authority released a statement this afternoon saying both the PHA and Grand Bahama Health Services are aware of the situation, noting the time it takes for an ambulance to reach Western communities from Freeport can have critical implications. The statement continues the concerns raised by the chief counselor are not only valid, but also represent some of the issues raised by residents. Officials also assured the chief counselor's concerns are not falling on deaf ears, adding they stand united with local government officials. The PHA says it's in the process of securing additional ambulances for both New Providence and Grand Bahama, but the timeline for their arrival has been extended due to supply chain issues. Now, to read the full statement, you can visit ournews.bs.
When our news comes back from the break, beating the heat, our Marlena Leonard has some advice for those traveling to the U.S. this summer as a heat wave moves east.
We update you on our volleyball teams in Suriname. Jonquel Jones wins WNBA Player of the Week and Coach Yo gets an extension. Don't go anywhere. Our sports is coming right up next.
And lots of rain in the capital today causing localized flooding. Just how long will these conditions last? Well, Greg is back in the Weather Center when our news returns. Stay with us.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. Another day wraps up at the Caribbean Senior Volleyball Championships. Jonquel Jones is named Player of the Week and Coach Yo gets extended. Here's Tage Adderley with a check on sports. Tage?
Thanks, Natalia. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tage Adderley. The Caribbean Senior Volleyball Championships continued yesterday in Suriname. The Bahamas women's national volleyball team fell to Trinidad and Tobago yesterday in Suriname. The loss came in 5 sets, with the team losing 3-2. Janelle Curtis led the team with 20 points and Brittany Montague had 12. With the loss, they fall to 1-1 in tournament play after beating the host team. Played against Barbados earlier this afternoon, and the men should be finishing up their match with Jamaica right now. We'll have the results for you tomorrow. Moving on to some hoops. We talked yesterday about Jonquel Jones' big weekend. Well, she won a big award for her stellar play. Jonquel Jones of the New York Liberty was named WNBA Eastern Conference Player of the Week for last week. The Grand Bahama native averaged 18 points, 10 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks per game on an absurd 63% shooting from the field and a white-hot 54% from the three-point line. She was perfect from the free throw line with 100%. She had 13 points and she beasted out on the boards, pulling down a season-high 17 rebounds. This is the first 3-game streak with a double-double since last season. Bonus Hoops news. Ole Miss announced yesterday that they extended Coach Yolette McPhee-McEwen. The University of Mississippi announced that their women's basketball head coach was extended. McEwen began her tenure in the SIP with a 9-25 season a decade ago, but she coached her squad up into a powerhouse, finishing this past season with a 25-9 record and their first Sweet 16 appearance in 16 seasons. Coach O was thankful for all the love she received.
I just wanted to just say thank you. If you showed any type of love and support during my journey thus far, if you just getting with my journey, hop on. This thing would be up and down, it'd be a lot going on.
Now, the Rebels are coming off one of their best seasons in program history, but we know that Coach O really wants to win it all. She'll have a chance this year. That'll do it for sports today. I'm Tej Adderley.
Still ahead on our news tonight, our Marlena Leonard is telling travelers how to keep cool as extreme caution warnings are in effect for Florida. This as temperatures here at home have cooled down a bit following lots of rain in the capital. But just how long will these temperatures last? Greg is back with your extended forecast when our news continues.
An ice cold Michelob Ultra, courtesy of Saw Your Airball last game. A refreshing
Welcome back to our news. Wet conditions around a few of the islands as we experience lots of rain today. Hopefully things clear up soon. Greg is now back with your extended forecast. Greg?
Yeah, thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody, for our final check of weather. We still have that upper level low that's spinning just west of Cuba. That's pumping a lot of moisture across us. That's combining with the surface trough and another upper level low that's just to the east of the Bahamas. All that will keep us in an unsettled weather pattern over the next couple of days. There's also a tropical wave with a lot of moisture just to the south of Hispaniola. Some of that moisture will spread across the southeast Bahamas, so we're looking for some cloudy conditions, as I mentioned, as well as some more showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. As all of this moves towards the west, the National Hurricane Center not really concerned about this upper level low anymore. They dropped that in the tropics. The remainder of the tropics quiet, but we are still watching a very strong, vigorous tropical wave that moved off of Africa. That's headed our way, but it's going to stay to the south, along that ridge, the southern portion of that ridge of high pressure in the Atlantic. But as this system continues to pull out, we expect some more dry conditions later on by the weekend and into early next week. Future forecast showing the moisture associated with that upper level low and that surface trough across the northwest Bahamas. Showers and thunderstorms will continue through Thursday, most of the activity moving across Florida, but we will still keep showers in the forecast Friday as that upper level low that's approaching us from the east, is going to be in our neighborhood by that time frame. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas tonight to tomorrow, small craft caution in effect. We have some swells out there. Winds will be east to southeast at 15 knots, seas running 3 to 5 feet, but they will be high at swells. Low tide will be at 9-12 tonight. For the central and southeastern islands, caution fly for you guys down there as well. Winds a little stiffer, east to southeast, 15 to 20 knots. They will be gusting higher times, seas running 4 to 7 feet, and they will also be in some swells. Here's a look now at your national forecast. Extended forecast, more showers in the forecast tomorrow. We taper off by Friday. Much improved conditions by the weekend and into early next week, but by Monday we expect a couple more showers, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm in the forecast, and then things quiet out by the middle of next week. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night and enjoy, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. And finally, this week, the record-breaking heat in the United States is expected to push more towards the East Coast, often a summer vacation choice for Bahamians and the area many Bahamians choose to relocate to. Our Marlena Leonard explains.
Scientists are saying this July may go down as the hottest month in Earth's recorded history, and areas in the western United States have regularly been facing sweltering days of triple-digit heat indexes. There are extreme caution warnings across Florida and South Florida, as heat indexes are expected to be between 90 and 103 degrees Fahrenheit. There have also been concerning reports of ocean surface temperatures around South Florida being above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, resulting in serious coral bleaching concerns. Just this week, a buoy showed a temperature reading of 101 degrees Fahrenheit, 6 feet beneath the surface of waters in Manatee Bay, Florida. For context, the average temperature of a hot tub is anywhere between 100 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit. This is extremely concerning for coral reefs, which thrive in temperatures between 20 and 30 degrees below that sweltering reading. So, if you're gearing up for a trip to the States this week, be sure to take the heat into consideration in your plans and stay cool. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
All right, very informative. Thanks, Marlena. And to see that story again, of course, you can visit ournews.bs. And with that, we thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.